Stephen, do you want to go ahead and begin?
I do, thank you. It's an enormous pleasure and a great honor to welcome Dr. Peter Gold to speak under the auspices of the Mirowitz Center. His story is one of enormous courage and one that spurs admiration, and we are so very appreciative that he's come to join us today to share his story. Dr. Gold is a graduate of Tulane University. He got his BA in 2012. He graduated the School of Medicine in 2016. He's been an orthopedic surgery resident at Hofstra, and he told me a few moments ago that he's going to be moving at the beginning of August to Philadelphia to take up a new position. And it's just our delight and our honor to have you here, and we thank you for making the time to talk with all of us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Going to share my screen and how's it look? You guys see everything? Great. All right, so today I'm going to be presenting this talk entitled "Turning the Blessings of Life into the Blessings for Thousands." I'm really honored to be here with you all and to share my story with the Mirowitz Center and to share a story of my story and how that was birthed into Strong City. So this is me in my day job. I just finished my orthopedic surgery residency at Long Island Jewish in New York, and I'm going to be going to Philadelphia starting next month to do a fellowship in hip and knee replacements. Which I'll be doing for the rest of my life. On the side, I run a nonprofit called Strong City, and we're a foundation devoted to supporting underserved youth by providing links to community leaders on the ground and those of us who want to make our communities a better place. So today I'm going to talk about my journey to finding compassion, and I like to categorize it by my up, out, and in journey. So the first up is growing up. So growing up for me started in Orlando, Florida in the 1990s. I was a kid who loved to have fun, was doing science projects, played Little League baseball. My mom liked to dress me up in bow ties and run around my house. And I learned a lot from my family. My dad is a pediatric ophthalmologist. He is dedicated, he is loyal, he is loving. And him and I used to love to go to Orlando Magic games together. This is me on my 6th birthday and then me closer to present day. And we love playing golf together. And he's someone I always look up to and admire as a physician. My grandpa, who actually just recently passed away, was an infectious disease doctor. And he helped to make some of the vaccines for rubella and measles. He helped make the antibiotic Ancef, which he named after my grandma Ann. And this picture here is my dad, myself, and my grandpa at my medical school graduation. And it's just an honor to be a 3rd-generation doctor and to follow in his footsteps, and has always been an inspiration for me. My mom, this is Gail. She is a lot shorter than me, but she is extremely passionate. A loving mother. She loves her kids and me more than anything else in the world. She's taking care of me, and there's no way I would be the tall and confident man that I am without her support and love. And lastly is my sister, who I used to be the same height as, but now I'm much taller. I'm so lucky to spend time with her. She has 2 kids. One is a month and a half old and one is 3 years old. So if you see them running around the back here, don't be scared. And then lastly are my grandparents. They are in their upper 80s and they have been married since they were in their early 20s. They are really defined what love is, what partnership is. And as I go to start to get married at the end of next month, they really are an inspiration to me on partnership and true love. So my next up was getting held up. So this happened in New Orleans. I went to Tulane undergrad from 2008 to 2016. And as I'm sure we all know and have been to New Orleans at some point in your life, New Orleans is famous for Mardi Gras and for celebrations and for community and for culture. And I certainly learned the importance of community while being in New Orleans. I also had the opportunity to study abroad in Prague, Czech Republic, and being able to see a post-communist country also really influenced the way I think about the world and the way I see the world. And I always like to share two things that really stuck with me from Tulane undergrad, other than Mardi Gras. I was a sociology major and a Jewish studies minor, and one of the sociology concepts I learned was called the hierarchy of sciences. And August Comte, who's a father of sociology, basically taught that you can't know or fully understand a next level of science until we fully know every single part of the level below it. So for instance, we can't know everything about chemistry unless we know everything about physics. We can't know everything about biology or neurology unless we know everything about chemistry. And so when you start to think about it, there's no way that we actually know everything about math, everything about physics. So as we go to a higher level of sciences, there's going to be gaps that we're not going to be able to know and predict. And he talked about how sociology is actually the most complex level of science, predicting human behavior and behavior of groups. There's no way that we'll ever really be able to do that. And I think that's super important and really changed the way I think about how we all interact together, and especially as being a physician. When people say, oh, I know this is how somebody acts, or I knew they were going to act that way, when you really think about it, there's no way that they actually could. So I think understanding our limitations of how much we can predict each other can help us learn to better support each other instead of trying to pinpoint where we think somebody's going to go. We can just support each other along the way. The second concept that really stuck out to me was Emile Durkheim's collective effervescence. And collective effervescence is the term that lets you know you are not alone, especially within the Jewish tradition. An example of collective effervescence would be wearing a Jewish star. When you feel that Jewish star around your neck, you feel connected to other Jewish people, all of our ancestors. And it's that feeling of being together which really pushes us along. And so I think the more things that we can do that remind us that we're not alone can only be beneficial for us. So after sociology and Jewish studies, I started medical school at Tulane, followed in my dad's footsteps, who also graduated from Tulane Medical School. And in an anatomy lab, I love doing the upper and lower extremity dissections. This is my anatomy group here. And one day they handed me the bone saw, and none of them wanted to saw off the skull, and they left it up to me. And I loved using the bone saw. And from that day knew I wanted to go into orthopedic surgery. During medical school, I got to travel to Cambodia in order to help teach medical students CPR and other life-saving techniques. It's a really great experience. But then right before graduation in 2016, November 2015 happened. And on that night, I was driving back home and I saw this man dragging this girl in a chokehold. Next thing I knew, I was pulling my car over and I got out and I was yelling at this man, yelling, screaming, doing anything I could to get him off her. Then that man took a gun out and started robbing me. I didn't have my wallet, I didn't have my phone. I told him, just take anything that I have and leave me alone. He looked at me and he just said, forget it, I'm just gonna kill you. He shot me in the stomach, and then here he tried to shoot me 3 times in the head, but all 3 times his gun jammed. The next thing I knew, it was 2 days later, and I woke up in the ICU at University Medical Center in New Orleans, which I had worked at many times. And this was probably one of the most silver lining moments of my life. Not because I was alive, but because my mom, my dad, my sister, and some of my best friends were around the bedside. You know, they were going to be there no matter what, no matter if I was going to make it or no matter if I wasn't going to make it. And to me, that's the biggest blessing that any of us can have. And that really taught me the lesson of community. When you have people that are there to support you, even when you don't know they're there, you know that they're there. And I think it's one of the most important gifts that we can give each other, and that we should continue to strive to build, not only within our small communities, but the community at large. The other thing I learned during my stay at the hospital was confidence. As a doctor, I do surgery. I'm used to talking to patients all the time, but Dr. Meg Moore, who's pictured here, is my surgeon that saved my life. She gave me confidence. I was so scared as a patient. Even though I knew what was going on, I was absolutely petrified. And every time she came in, she would talk to me and she would give me confidence based in knowledge. And it's that confidence based in knowledge that she gave me and taught me that that's something that we can all give to each other. I can give to my patients, but by using our knowledge, we can teach others and pass on to others in order to help them live more confident and successful lives. And the last thing that I just really started to learn in the hospital was compassion. This event really opened up my heart, and it really got me to start to see people other than myself, and to really learn the power that each of us have if we put our mind and our dedication to a certain goal. So I had my mind and my dedication to getting out of the hospital and to getting to my orthopedic surgery residency interviews. This happened November 20th, 2015, and picturing me on the left there is just right after January 1st. It was like January 4th or 5th, and I was going to my first orthopedic surgery interview, just under 2 months after being shot. I got into orthopedic surgery residency in New York, and this is me graduating to a medical school in the Superdome in New Orleans. My mom and I went to the U.S. House of Representatives, where the congressman at the time, John Mica, gave me a congressional record and tribute on the floor of the House of Representatives. So that's my story of what got me to be on that corner that day, and learning about community, learning about confidence, learning about compassion. But what about the other side of the story? What about the person who was on that corner trying to kidnap somebody and potentially sexually assault them? What did it take for him to get there? And really, there's two sides of the story. And when you look at the bigger picture, New Orleans youth are a significant risk and are very underserved compared to everyone else in our nation. 34% of kids are living in poverty. A quarter of homicide victims are young people, and half of convicted murderers are younger than the age of 23. To me and my friends, sitting in the ICU, we started to talk about some of these problems, and we realized that we needed to do something to rally together to try to help fix some of these issues that were being ignored. And that's why we started Strong City. Strong City is here to create a network of citizens who want to improve our cities one project at a time. We're a 501c3 supporting organizations who are on the ground that empower underserved youth. Some words that we like to describe ourselves is strong, rhythmic, passionate, energetic, resilient, familial, and optimistic. If these words could paint our cities, the world we live in and the cities we live in could be much better for everybody. And what's Strong City doing? Our goal is to offer communities the resources they need to empower the next generation. We partner with community organizations who are on the ground, people who are already doing the work. We don't reinvent the wheel. We just create channels for people to connect to these community partners and empower change. So we launched this organization just over 4 years ago now, in April of 2017 through an event in New York City. And I want to share with you guys our video, which can be found on our website, but this helps to kind of sum up how we got started. Oh, I realize you guys can't hear the sound. Sorry, hold on one second.
Yeah, if you go to, Pete, if you go to where you share your video, there is share computer sound or something like that in the drop-down menu.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, no, I lost the video.
We still can't hear it.
Okay.
You got it?
No, it's okay. I'll just keep moving on. Can you guys still hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So sorry. So that was the video that you can find that on our website. I can give you guys the information at the end. But you had heard the story of how we got started, and we launched our organization in 2017, and it really was based around trying to better understand how somebody could act so violently so easily. And the place that we landed on was that no one is born with that kind of evil. No one is born able to be that violent. And that it really has to do with guidance and mentorship, and a lack of guidance and mentorship that we can focus on specifically on kids. And so that's why we wanted to work with community organizations that specifically focus on underserved youth in order to help get them on the right track, to get the guidance, to get the mentorship they need to become their best selves. So the way that we go about doing this with community organizations is through a 3-tier approach. 1 is through project-based giving, 2 is gun violence prevention research, and 3 is through citizen support. So project-based giving, the way we do this is we partner with a community organization who's working with underserved youth, and we want to work with them in a unique way. We don't want to say, hey, we're this foundation coming in, we want to give you $50,000 and we want you to do this with the money. We sit down with the organization and we say, hey, what is number 10 through 15 on your priority list? Meaning number 1 through 10, we know you're going to get to because you have to get through 1 through 10 in order to keep the lights on and do your job. But from 10 to 15, those are things that you would love to get to, but you're not going to be able to just because it's just out of budget or you don't have the time or resources to do it. And we want to help get them number 10 through 15 on their list. So some of the examples that we've done Thanksgiving Day drives and drop-offs at holidays. We partnered with Goodwood NOLA, who is a custom furniture company in New Orleans, to renovate the Youth Empowerment Project's headquarters. Youth Empowerment Project is one of our community organization partners in New Orleans. And you can see here in the picture on the left, this was their kitchen before. And now after redoing it, they have a brand new kitchen that they can do cooking classes and work with the kids in a much cleaner and safer environment. We also installed water fountains within their headquarters because they were constantly buying cases and cases of water bottles. We also worked to get them a passenger van, which you can see here in the bottom left, which they use at Mardi Gras parades to transport kids, to transport things back and forth. It's been super helpful for them. We've worked with their drumline and their dance team to get them custom drumline uniforms, drum pads, and we're working with Tulane University in order to help teach them drum lessons with the Tulane marching band. We also work with their camps and summer camps to help them get any equipment, goggles, and things that they need for camp. We also work in the gun violence prevention research space, working with the city of New Orleans as well as Cure Violence. We work with Cure Violence, which is an organization that collects data on homicides with the goal of trying to better understand what was the cause of the murders culturally, so that they can go in and make some culture changes in order to try to prevent gun violence, looking at gun violence from a public health or public safety way in order to try to decrease and prevent future violence. And we can only do this through citizen support. These are just some of the incredible people who have partnered with us. And as we tell our story and tell them what we're trying to do, it's been amazing to see how many people this resonates with. and how many people want to help out and want to get involved. So from our inception until now, we've raised just around $200,000. It's a team of 10 of us who organize this 501c3, and all of us are completely volunteer. We have our own jobs, doctors, lawyers, brand specialists, marketing, whatever it is, you name it. We do all this on the side in complete volunteer basis. We established a Tulane University Strong City chapter, and we've maintained relationships with some of New Orleans partners. And our plans for this next year is to help the Youth Empowerment Project, which is our partner in New Orleans. We're help them hire a youth mentor advocate. One of their youth advocates, Darren, was actually a student in their program, came up through YEP, and then after graduating from YEP, graduating from college, decided to come back and work part-time with YEP. And now we're looking to sponsor him and sponsor his full-time employment as a youth advocate this next year. We also want to expand our gun violence prevention research initiative with Cure Violence. And through our Tulane University Strong City chapter, we want to partner with a third New Orleans community organization to continue our impact. Lastly, we want to start to plan a giving trip, which we'd like to bring down young professionals to New Orleans in the beginning of 2022 in order to help provide our impact with some hands-on work. So the next part of my journey to compassion is out, and this part is called bleeding out. So in April of 2018 now, I was working on call in the hospital, and I was reducing or putting back a little kid's broken wrist. And while I was putting his wrist back in place, I started to feel a little woozy. And the anesthesiologist who was sedating the child said to me, hey, you should probably go get some orange juice and take a break. So I called one of my colleagues to come help me out, and I took some orange juice, and the next thing I knew, I was getting more lightheaded and more lightheaded. I ended up checking myself back into the hospital as I had some kind of bleed coming from my abdomen. After being in the hospital for a couple of days and having multiple tests, I felt myself getting faint again and started bleeding from my abdomen again. And at that point, the ICU team came and they took me through the CT scanner, and they found that I had a pseudoaneurysm off my gastroduodenal artery, which is right by where the gunshot was and the original surgery was. And I had an aneurysm in that artery that had burst, and I was literally bleeding out. So this is me in the hospital drinking Go Lightly, which is the bowel prep that you take. And this is how they found that I had this ruptured pseudoaneurysm, and I was very quickly losing a lot of my blood volume. So I'm in the ICU, and I have to go up to go to the bathroom again. And when I get up, I start feeling lightheaded and dizzy, and I feel myself passing out. I pass out, and as I pass out, I see myself being pummeled towards this beam of light. I mean, I can't even describe how fast I was moving, as if I was strapped on the back of a rocket ship and being launched at an undescribable speed. And I kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and then all of a sudden I realized that there was no fighting where I was going, and that I needed to just surrender and allow myself to go there. And when I surrendered, it was probably one of the most beautiful things that I'd ever experienced. I had no pain, and it was a euphoria that I can't describe. And as I did that, I felt like I started to slow down, and I moved into this world that was full of light. And surrounding this beam of light that I was moving into, I started to see my parents, my mom, my dad, my sister. I saw people I knew. I saw people I didn't know. And all of a sudden, everyone started yelling at me, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You shouldn't be going down there. It's not your time." And a very large hand reached down and grabbed me and threw me back out of the light. And I woke back up in the ICU. And the first thing I said to the nurse who was holding me up was, slow down, you got to slow down. And the nurse said to me, "You're not moving anywhere. I don't know where you think you got to slow down from." But this experience obviously is a incredible, out of this world experience. And to me, the thing that it taught me the most is, again, that support. No matter where we are, our friends and family are always surrounding us, and that when we do finally pass, that nobody passes in pain. It was a beautiful journey towards the light, and it's something that that I know allows people to pass in their best manner possible. So the last part of my up, out, and in journey to finding compassion is in, and it's my lessons in life up to this point. And all these experiences have really given me a new perspective. It's taught me community and collective effervescence, that we all need to work to support each other, to come together, and to build healthy rituals together, so that no matter what, no matter who, no matter where you are, we don't feel alone, we feel together, and we feel empowered. It taught me confidence, and that no matter if you're a doctor who's sick, or you're a professional athlete who's about to play in a championship match, we get scared as humans. And it's important that we can give each other confidence by teaching each other things, and by using our knowledge, we can help each other succeed and strive to be our best. And lastly, it taught me compassion. Compassion to open up my heart, to realize that there's more people in the world than just me. There's more people in the world that we can touch if we work together. And that compassion really starts with yourself. And after you're compassionate with yourself and gracious to yourself and kind to yourself, then we can really start to be compassionate to others. I'm gonna see if I can get the
So if you do, there's a view where that's next to the share screen, there's a little drop down menu that says view options.
sorry, give me 1 second. There we go, got it. Okay, so this is, to me, is the definition of what compassion is. I had an opportunity to speak with Dr. James Doty, who also has an extremely incredible story. He wrote his memoir, which is called Into the Magic Shop. I highly suggest that you pick it up and take a read. Again, he has an incredible story of his journey of finding compassion. And in a recent conversation I was able to have with him, he really puts it perfectly.
To develop self-awareness and to understand, I think, the processes that hijack who we are or who is our best self, and understand that it is within your power to manifest who you want to be, but you have to, as that first step, recognize that the negative narratives you have going on in your head are false narratives. And this is a reality that limits people from truly being their best selves. You know, a lot of people will say, well, I don't really have any power. The reality is you have more power than you can possibly imagine. You just have to release yourself from these statements that you make that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm an imposter, because that creates a prison for yourself that gets very small and starts to get very dark. And when you stop this narrative and change that internal dialogue to one of awareness and acceptance of your own imperfections, then it allows you to actually be extraordinarily powerful. And as we all say, it only takes one person to change the world. And I think that all of us have the capacity, if not the world, to change the world around us. So
I just want to thank you guys very much for having me, for listening to my story, and and to understanding my journey to finding compassion, my journey to continue every single day to work on becoming more compassionate to myself, more compassionate to others. Just like Dr. Doty said, you know, we all have the capacity to change the world, but at first we need to work on ourselves and work on the world around us, and that will really make the change that we're all trying to see. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gold. This has been wonderful. And if anyone has questions, please let me know. Raise your hand, type in the chat. Okay, Susan Becker Kempinen says, do you have any lingering side effects from the shooting? Did your near-death experience make you a more spiritual or religious person?
That's a great question. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. So first, lingering side effects. So I obviously I'm extremely grateful and very lucky. I really can live my day to day as if nothing ever happened. The only thing that, so originally, right after I was shot, I lost about 30 or 35 pounds. I don't know if you saw that picture with me going like this, but I lost about 30, 35 pounds. I definitely was depressed for the first couple of months after. I really had got out of the hospital in 1 week. I was on top of the world. I thought, oh, I just got shot and nothing could hurt me. And then the next week after, I actually got readmitted to the hospital with an infection, and they ended up taking care of it. But kind of being on top of the world and then getting thrown back down to the bottom definitely made me depressed. And so originally lost some weight and had a bout of depression, which kind of went away over the next 3 to 4 months after my recovery. Then the only lingering effects that I have now are after the aneurysm, and they had to clot off that artery. We're not really sure what happened or what part of my small intestine must have gotten non-functional, but I can't eat dark leafy greens. So kale, spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those are no-goes. If I eat those, you won't see me for like 3 days. So it's actually probably I don't know if that's it's probably a great lingering effect. I really have a real excuse to not eat my vegetables anymore.
There's a couple other, yeah, go ahead.
There's for the second question about did my near-death experience make me more of a spiritual or religious person? That's a good question. I think I have become much more spiritual when it comes to self-compassion. You know, I'm Jewish. I was bar mitzvahed, but I really feel like my spirituality has come a lot from more meditation work, journaling work, and really trying to be as compassionate as I can with myself, and know that the closer and closer I can get to my core, the closer I can get to God or to a higher power. And so I think at those times when we are the kindest to ourselves, that's when we're the closest to God. And I think that's for me what spiritually has changed.
We have a couple other, Nadine says, this was truly beautiful and inspirational. Thank you for sharing, Dr. Gold. And then there's another comment, as Tulane friend and pledge sister of your parents, I know how incredibly proud they are of you. You're an inspiration to everyone. So those are a couple comments there.
My mom's peeking in behind me and she says hi to Carol.
Could I ask you, Dr. Gold, what happened to the man who shot you?
Oh, there's Carol. You can see. So the man, the man who shot me. So the story kind of thickens a little bit. So he actually kidnapped a boyfriend and a girlfriend 8 hours later after what happened to me. 8 hours later, he kidnapped a boyfriend and a girlfriend, held the man at gunpoint, and sexually assaulted the woman. So because of the surveillance camera, they ended up finding his car, and the New Orleans Police Department did an incredible job. They found him, and he ended up taking a guilty plea, I believe somewhere in the range of 50 some odd years, with no parole. And he took a guilty plea because the couple who had been sexually assaulted did not want to sit trial, which I completely understand and relate to that. So so he ended up being in jail for 50 or 53 years with no parole.
More questions? I'm not seeing any at this time.
I think Susan just asked, are there more strong cities coming to other cities? Susan, that is a great question. I would love for Strong City to be able to work and operate in other cities. Like I said, at this point right now, it's 8, sometimes 10, but usually 8 people who have full-time other jobs who are doing Strong City on the side as volunteer. We just recently established like the Tulane University Strong City Club. And so we're working on building like a mentorship model in which young professionals can work with undergrad students to then directly impact community organizations in their communities. So if you or anybody that you know would be able or willing to kind of run or jumpstart that kind of like mentor program in a college town, or they have a group of friends who want to do this in another city, we would be happy to work with them and support them in any way we can.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So some of the organizations, like in St. Louis here, we have a Boys and Girls Club. It does some similar things, but do you partner or collaborate with those kinds of organizations in any way?
Yeah, so our goal basically is to not reinvent the wheel, right? So I feel like a lot of people end up coming in and saying, oh, I'm going to fix the problem, I'm going to solve this problem, I'm going to start X, Y, and Z thing. But ultimately, there are so many people who over a long period of time have already been working to solve this problem. So yeah, so someone like Boys and Girls Club, or the people like the Youth Empowerment Project that we work with in New Orleans, we want to find people who are focused on empowering youth, and then just sitting down with them and building a partnership and saying, hey, what things do you guys need help with that you're not going to get to, and then figuring out if we can help them, and if we can work together in that way, then that'd be great. But I think for us, the most important thing is working with youth. And the second thing is working with an organization in a way that we're just asking them what they need and let them dictate what we do, rather than the people with the money and the foundation and try to dictate what these programs are doing.
Oh, that's a great plan. That's a great plan. Sending this from Marcy. Hello and love to Gail and Bobby. She's also impressed with you.
Thank you, Marcy.
Let's see. So do we have some more? Marcy, did you
Sure.
have a question or just waiting?
Susan asked a very good question. Have I ever communicated with the shooter? A very, very good question. So we did the short answer is no. I guess the short answer is no. Then I would say not yet. And we did a collaboration with another organization in New York City called Conbody. And this guy Cosmart, he has an incredible story. He's a formerly incarcerated person, used to be a drug dealer in New York City, went to jail multiple times. And the last time he was in jail, he was in solitary confinement and decided he was going to get his life back together. And he was over 300 pounds. Doctors told him, he wasn't going to live that long because he was so overweight and unhealthy. And he started working out in his jail cell. And he basically put together this whole workout program. And then after he got out of solitary confinement, he continued his workout program. And then he started doing workout training and coaches for some of the other inmates. So when he got out of jail, he started Con Body, which is a workout that you can do in the confines of a jail cell. And he has people from all over New York City who come and do his jail cell style workout with him. And so we did a collaboration with him. And I actually spoke to him about this topic of, hey, if I ever want to reach out to Hurricane who shot me, is that appropriate? How do I go about doing that? And so, he said, if / when you'd ever ready or you ever want to just write him a letter, and write him a letter and send it to him and see if he responds back or would like to talk. I'm definitely not ready for that yet. But I think at some point in my life, it would be a very interesting thing, and I hope could be a fruitful thing, not only for me but for him. Yeah, to be determined.
Yeah. So I'm not seeing any more questions today. Stephen, did you have something else you would like to say today?
There's lots I'd like to say, but I think that the absence of questions isn't a statement about interest, but rather a sense that all of us feel very overwhelmed and very overawed by you and by your story. You really do help us understand what compassion is about and what it should look like. And I hope that as you move forward in your life, after you marry, please God, that all these things will come together for you in lots of good and different ways, and that the blessings that you give out and the goodness that you spread will come back to you and your future wife. And we hope that you'll be successful in everything you do, because really what you've taught us up to this point suggests that there's still so much more that you're going to do for us and for the world. So thank you.
Thank you. And so if we wanted to contact you, or anyone that may have an idea, is there on the Strong City website, is there a way to share an idea or contact you? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So I just put in the chat for everybody. So our website is mystrongcity.org. And then our contact email is hello@mystrongcity.org. And myself, along with some other people on my team, all answer those emails. So yeah, please, any ideas, anyone that that you would like to put us in touch with, this is still very grassroots, and we're just trying to do the best we can as we can do it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
So much.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.